So I've spent roughly 60 hours playing Gears of War E-Day beta, and honestly, I'm fucking loving it. Which makes what I'm about to say probably a little bit weird, because there are quite a few things in this game that I think they do need to change. But here's the thing, I'm not saying that because I dislike E-Day, I'm saying it because I'm absolutely in love with the game. The moments that are in this game where I'm generally sat there thinking this could possibly be the best Gears of War game we've ever had. You can't beat that feeling when you hit that perfect Nasher shot and you slide into cover, or you catch someone pushing and you get that beautiful chunk. That's Gears, that's the feeling I've been waiting for. But on the other hand, there are moments where I'm sat there thinking, why on earth did that work? How did that make any sense? The movement, the aim assist, the weapon balance, the cameras, some of the PvP mechanics. And after 60 hours, you start to realise that there's some things that may need to change. You start to understand the mechanics of the game, and that's what I want to talk about today. The things that I absolutely love about Gears of War E-Day, and the things where I think the Coalition could make a few changes to turn this into something seriously special. Now, before we start talking about anything that needs changing, I want to get something out the way. E-Day feels like Gears, and that is so fucking important, because after all these years, after all the changes, after Gears 4, after Gears 5, I've wanted that feeling back, and E-Day has that feeling. The atmosphere, the weight, the sound, the weapons, the environment, the violence. There's something about the game that just feels perfectly right, and it fits so well into the Gears of War world. And I do think the Coalition deserve all the credit for that, because they could have just played safe. They could have just taken Gears 5, changed a few maps, changed characters, and smashed it all together and called it a day. But they've changed the movement, they've introduced new mechanics, they changed how fights play out, and honestly, I'm so glad that they actually have taken a risk. So let's talk about the biggest issue I had when I first jumped in, and that is the performance, because my first few hours with E-Day were absolutely horrific. They were so rough, like really rough. Now, this is obviously my experience. I'm not saying everyone has the exact same problems that I did, but for me the game was stuttering, crashing, hanging, the controls felt delayed, shooting always didn't feel like it was immediate, and when you're playing a Gears game, that is a huge issue. Gears is built around timing, movement, reaction, being precision. If you press something, it needs to happen. So currently I'm playing on an RTX 60 Ti in Gears 5, and I get around 150 FPS, and in E-Day I was getting around 30 to 50 FPS at 1080p in the lowest settings. And the game, I noticed, was also chewing through 8 gigs of RAM. How the fuck is my computer struggling this much? And the worst part was, I couldn't even tell if I actually disliked the mechanics or whether the game was simply just not responding correctly. So I started to have to change everything. I changed the drivers, I changed the in-game settings, I even messed about with OBS and my recording settings and equipment. I even reinstalled all the NVIDIA drivers and reinstalled everything all over again. I basically went full IT technician, and eventually I did get it to start feeling a little bit better. The hanging became a little less noticeable, and suddenly I could actually judge the game. And that's where I started finding things I genuinely loved and things I do believe need changing. So let's talk movements, because I actually love what the Coalition are trying to do here. I don't want them to remove the new movements. I don't want them to go, oh,
Okay, let's go back to Gears 5, yeah!
No. Keep the movement the way it is, but just make it better, especially when you're sprinting and turning, because it does feel a little bit boaty. You're trying to take a tiny little adjustment and suddenly you're steering the fucking Titanic. There's things where the movement could be just polished, tiny little adjustments. You know, the turning, the sliding, the cover, setting up a shot, everything needs to feel precise. So I don't want the new movement removed. I want it tightened up, make it more responsive, make the transitions cleaner, make the movement feel like I'm controlling a soldier, not a cruise ship. So this is where things get really interesting for me and my experience with Gears of War E-Day, because I ended up ditching the controller and pitching up a keyboard and mouse. And this changed everything. Suddenly my inputs felt much more immediate, my turning was much more quicker, little adjustments were just so much easier than the controller, and I started to understand what E-Day was asking me to do. I went from this game was absolutely dreadful to this, hold on, this game feels really, really good. Now, does the mouse and keyboard magically fix everything? No. The movement does still feel a little bit chunky, but it does highlight something really important. I think some of the individual pieces, like the controller, the way you run, the sprints, some of the settings, what you can't do, what you can do with the controller, they need to be addressed. The Coalition need to get their eyes on that, especially for the next beta window. Now we're getting into dangerous territory. The Nasher. Well, this thing is absolutely cooking. It's beautiful. You get the right distance, you hit that perfect shot, you hear the chunk. And you already know someone's having a terrible fucking day. That's Gears. I don't want to change that. I don't want it turned into something completely different. Now, I do think that the mid-range damage on the Nasher does need looking at. This is not because I want more one-shot kills. I actually want the opposite. I want more meaningful fights, because now players can close distance incredibly quickly. You've got up air, you've got sliding, you have an aggressive movement system, and sometimes that means that you're almost forced into a Nasher fight. I'd like the mid-range damage to be slightly more forgiving. Give me a reason to take that shot, give me a reason to control a space, give me more options before we inevitably end up standing 3 feet apart from each other, screaming, who's getting chunked? Keep the Nasher powerful, just give me a little more variety around it. Now, this is probably the biggest gameplay change I would like to see. I would like to see more variety on how you actually play. I don't mean completely changing Gears. I love aggressive players. I personally play aggressively. I love the mad lads that run around the map looking for someone's head. But I also want defensive players. I want players controlling space. I want players poking from range. Players using the Lancer correctly, setting traps. Because right now, it just feels like you've only got 2 options. You can sit back with a weapon, or you can fuck it, let's go up, eh? And I don't think that's the game's fault. I think it's just the result of the current balance. Give players more viable options, and suddenly E-Day becomes much more interesting to a lot more people. Now, I do want to talk about the audio. The audio team have absolutely blew my ears off. Some of the games that I've played in the past, for years, I've struggled with audio. Trying to figure out where the enemy's approaching, seeing what's in a certain direction. Audio is massive for multiplayer games, and honestly, Gears of War E-Day is 10 out of 10, blew me away. It's some of the best audio I've ever heard. You can hear footsteps. It's so clear. I could hear footsteps around corners. I was underneath, capping the objective on outpost, and I could hear the enemy above, where they were going to be and when they were going to drop down, and boom, I'm waiting for them. Absolutely unbelievable audio. They've done a 10 out of 10 job. It's not there just to make the game sound good, it's also helping us directionally get better at the game. So you'll notice I haven't actually mentioned anything to do with Horde Siege, and that is because the whole experience of Horde Siege is phenomenal. When you get the beta, I suggest you jump straight into Gears of War E-Day's Horde Siege mode and get used to the game. See what the game demands from you, change your controllers, get the specs all ready and correct. I'm so impressed with what they've done with it, it's phenomenal. So that's my honest opinion after around 60 hours of Gears of War E-Day's PvP. I fucking love the game, but I want it to be a lot better, and I think the Coalition can do that. So I want to hear from you. What do you love about E-Day? What do you think needs changing? Are you playing on controller, keyboard or mouse? What do you think about the new movement? The Nasher, the aim assist, the weapons, the maps. Have you had the same performance issues that I've had? Let me know down in the comments below, because I'm generally interested and we do read every single comment. Once again, if you haven't liked the video, go ahead and do so. If you're new around here, do not forget to subscribe, and I catch you all in the next one.